After two of the most violent weeks in recent memory, I think it's important for us to pay attention. So, a trans person killed 6 people at a Christian school in Nashville. Multiple protests erupted in major cities around America during Transgender Day of Transgender Day of Visibility. The police just recently stopped a trans 19-year-old person who had planned on shooting up schools in and around Colorado. A speaker was attacked in New Zealand at a rally to try to reclaim female spaces, and of course, this feminist was attacked by trans people in New Zealand. And then a young man was beaten on the streets in Canada by a trans crowd. And of course, you may have seen the video by now. Riley Gaines, a young woman, a collegiate athlete, was attacked by trans people at San Francisco State University. Here's a little bit of the footage here. Now, because it is so chaotic, I'll try to explain it for those who are listening. Essentially, you see Riley Gaines being rushed off the stage after she got done speaking about her experience with Will/Leah Thomas, and how this man went from 400th in men's sports to first place in women's sports, and how he began to disrobe publicly in front of women because of his sexual fetish. Now, she goes on in this speech and then is attacked and hit 2 times in the face by a trans activist. Now, she's being rushed off the stage, and you can hear people saying trans rights are human rights and yelling wildly and demonically in her face. As she's being escorted away from the police. And you can see this gleeful worship of the trans cult as this individual is being rushed into a back room, where then they will later talk about extorting money from Riley Gaines in order for her release from that room, where they were all maintaining a watchful gaze over that room for her to come out yet again. So I think this is really, really interesting, because there's a lot to suggest about why trans activism is becoming so radical in the present, as I've already mentioned at the beginning of the show. But I will show you here one more way in which I think this is happening, because just recently, the Vice President of Student Affairs over at San Francisco State University spoke out against what took place at the school, and she had some pretty interesting words to say, so I'll share that with you now on the screen. And she said this: "Dear SF State community, today San Francisco State finds itself again at the center of a national discussion regarding freedom of speech and expression." Actually, dear friend, you were at the center of a national discussion about trans violence, not freedom of speech. See, this doesn't really have anything to do with freedom of speech. Riley Gaines was there because she was exercising her right of freedom of speech. What this actually is about, and it's interesting that she framed it this way, so dishonestly, what this is actually about is the leftist desire to destroy freedom of speech and do so violently. She continues, "Let me begin by saying clearly, the trans community is welcome and belongs at San Francisco State University. Further, our community fiercely believes in unity, connection, care, and compassion, and we value different ideas even when they are not our own." Well, this is the problem. No, you don't. You're willing to attack somebody who has a different point of view. But will that make it in the letter is the real question, right? So this is all obvious at this point in time, but I want you to be very careful to listen to the rest of this letter and whether or not it actually states anything about the violence that took place there. So San Francisco State is regularly noted as one of the most diverse campuses in the United States. This is what makes us Gators, and this is what makes us great. No, it isn't. What makes you great is that you're creating a space where intellectual ideas can be discussed without people violently opposing different ideas. See, you are, in point of fact, the exact opposite of great. You are mediocre. But maybe because the left doesn't believe in meritocracy anymore and doesn't believe meritocracy exists, it's okay to be mediocre, which is exactly why they don't believe in meritocracy anymore, because it's an excuse for mediocrity. And so it's mediocre in the sense that they want to attack anybody that disagrees with them, and they are not willing to create a space where intellectual discussion can take place. Of course, we know that's the greatest bastion of silly, dumb people who don't really want to discuss anything from an intellectual perspective, but it goes on. But we may also find ourselves exposed to divergent views and even views we find personally abhorrent. So again, guess who she's talking about here? not those who wish to use violence to suppress free speech, but those who wish to actually use free speech to just disagree with people. So that's what's abhorrent here. These encounters have sometimes led to discord, anger, confrontation, and fear. We must meet this moment and unite with a shared value of learning. Thank you to our students who participated peacefully in Thursday evening's event. It took tremendous bravery to stand in a challenging space. No, it doesn't. Please quit. This is a little bit of a soapbox, but please quit letting the left define bravery for you, because they're going to turn you into a bunch of dumb, gutless cowards. It does not take bravery to listen to somebody who disagrees with you. As a Christian, I love listening to Sam Harris. I love listening to Richard Dawkins. I think their views are mostly idiotic when it comes to religion, but they're brilliant men otherwise. But it actually strengthens me, and it makes me better as a Christian to listen to people like Richard Dawkins, and to listen to people on YouTube like the Cosmic Skeptic, and to listen to their ideas against Christianity, because ideas are not violence. Violence is violence. This feels difficult because it is difficult. As you reflect, process, and begin to heal, please remember that there are people to receive our Gator community, including faculty, staff members, coaches, and mentors who are here to support you. Campus resources are also available. Equity and community inclusion, counseling and psychological services, Dean of Students Services. The well-being of the San Francisco State campus community remains our priority. Yeah, well, interestingly enough, not the well-being of the speakers who come to your campus. Now, I think it's so interesting that the people who were hurt by these words are the ones who are really hurt, not Riley Gaines. And we are here to heal you, Peace Child. If you need some equity and community inclusion, and you need a counselor, you need somebody to talk to you about diversity, equity, and inclusion and heal those broken wounds inside of you, they're here to do it for you, because we believe in creating a peaceful environment where trans activists are allowed to destroy anybody that disagrees with them. So great sympathy for the attackers, not so much for Riley Gaines. And this leads me to a final conclusion. And this is why polarization is so important here. The school has to be sued, 100%. This person who wrote this letter, which her name is Jamila Moore, we'll get to her in just a second. This is the kind of thing that exacerbates the evil that's been going on in our nation. When an administration mainstreams evil, there has to be repercussions. So, one, I, along with others, have said the San Francisco State has to be sued, and I absolutely believe that's true. But I think we need to go one step further. For those of us who are not necessarily going to be involved in a suit that Riley Gaines would bring against the school, I think we can go one step further, and we can reach out to the writer of this letter that is so concerned with the emotional wounds of people who had to listen to free speech, that she didn't find a way to condemn the people who created the violence that took place at San Francisco State. I think we need to reach out to our friend Jamila Moore here. And by the way, you should know, not only is she the Dean of Student Affairs, but also she is the author of Race and College Admissions, a Case for Affirmative Action. Surprise! I bet you didn't know she was a crazy loony leftist. She's responsible for establishing the campus's anti-racist framework. You never would have guessed. A program to support Latinx students, a word that no Latin person uses, a word that was forced upon Latinos by the left. And she works to create pathways at San Francisco State, and she co-chairs the San Mateo Community College District's Basic Needs Task Force. About the only thing that actually seems useful is that very last one, and I can almost guarantee you that it's not. That they're going to simply do so on the basis of race rather than on the basis of need and on the basis of human sympathy. So there's only one thing you can do here. You can, well, maybe two things, I suppose. You can reach out to our friend Jamila Moore, and you can let her know what you think about the letter she just sent. Of course, you can reach her at morej@sfsu.edu. I would highly encourage you to write your email today, and to do so to extend your warm condolences for Riley Gaines, which didn't seem to be expressed in that letter. And then you can also reach out to the school by calling 415-338-2032. I would highly encourage you to, as much as possible, inundate Jamila Moore with kind, soft, beautiful words, nurturing her and helping her feel exactly what she needs to feel based upon the letter that she wrote to the students at San Francisco State University. Now, the reason I speak with this kind of just very direct language is that Christians are very, very squeamish about this kind of thing. Well, they say, well, this is just paying them back. This is fighting evil with evil. Dear friend, no, it's not. This is what standing up for truth looks like. I know you haven't done it very much, and therefore it's a little bit foreign to you. But this is what actually fighting fair looks like, and fighting for what is right looks like. The left is just way better than Christians at it. We have squeamishly and puritanically sat behind our Bibles without actually opening them, and we actually haven't taken the time to actually stand up and do anything that would actually truly make a difference. Now, if we can actually, instead of putting that Bible down, actually just open it a little, we'll see people like the prophets, and we'll see people like Jesus, that Jesus guy, the one, Jesus Christ, where we get our name Christian from. We'll see people like Jesus who were actually fighting against this very kind of egregious, sinful immorality. So I know we love to quote the fact that Jesus was against the Sadducees and the Pharisees because they were in the religious community. Well, what about the scribes? What about people who were in the higher echelons of the elitist circles in places of the influence in society? Jesus also spoke against that kind of stuff. And when a person is attacked, hopefully you as a Christian can find enough moral gumption to realize this is a polarizing issue. This is an issue where we need to be heard, and it will not be tolerated. Now, will it make a difference? Who knows? But I know this. Silence is deafening when evil is on the prowl. So you just got done watching a small excerpt of a much larger episode. You can find the link to that full episode down below in the description of this video. So you definitely want to check that out, because if you like that clip, you'll like the much larger episode. And while you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and click that little bell to be notified when great new episodes of Indie Thinker come your way. Thanks for watching.